The stars had always been kind to the Valari. For thousands of years, their people lived in peace on their beautiful world, called Seraph. They were small creatures, no taller than a human child, with soft blue skin and large, gentle eyes. They had never known war. They had never needed weapons. The Valari believed that all beings in the universe were good at heart. They were wrong. The attack came without warning on a quiet morning. Elder Pelori was tending to her garden when the sky turned red. She looked up and saw massive ships blocking the sun. These ships were black and covered with sharp metal spikes. They looked like monsters from old nightmare stories. "The Korvax," she whispered. Her hands began to shake. The Korvax Empire was known throughout the galaxy as raiders and killers. They took what they wanted from weaker species. They showed no mercy. They felt no guilt. To them, creatures like the Valari were nothing more than resources to be harvested. Within minutes, Korvax soldiers landed on the surface. They were tall and muscular, with gray skin covered in thick scales. Their eyes were yellow and cold, like a dead sun. They carried plasma rifles that could turn a Valari into ash with one shot. Elder Pelori ran through the streets of her city. All around her, buildings burned. Valari screamed and tried to hide. But there was nowhere to hide. The Korvax were everywhere. "To the communication tower," shouted a young Valari named Lero. He grabbed Elder Pelori's arm and pulled her forward. "We must send for help." They ran as fast as their small legs could carry them. Plasma shots flew past their heads. Pelori saw friends and neighbors fall to the ground and never get up again. Tears streamed down her face, but she kept running. The communication tower stood at the center of the city. It was the only way to send a message beyond their solar system. If they could reach the galactic peacekeepers, perhaps there was hope. The peacekeepers were supposed to protect species like the Valari. That was their duty. Lero and Pelori burst through the tower's doors. Inside, other Valari were already working at the controls. Their fingers moved quickly over the panels. Fear was written on every face. "Is the signal ready?" Pelori asked. "Almost," said a technician named Vora. Her voice was shaking. "But the Korvax ships are blocking our main channels. I am trying to find another frequency." An explosion shook the building. Dust fell from the ceiling. The lights flickered. "They are coming," Lero said. He picked up a metal rod from the floor. It was the closest thing to a weapon he had ever held. "I will try to slow them down." "No," Pelori said. "You will die." "Then I will die protecting my people," Lero replied. He gave her a sad smile and ran toward the door. Pelori turned back to Vora. "Send the signal. Send it now. Send it to anyone who can hear." "I found an open frequency," Vora said. "But I do not recognize it. It is not going to the peacekeepers. It is going somewhere else. Somewhere far away. It does not matter." Pelori grabbed Vora's shoulders. "Send it. Send it anywhere. Someone must help us." Vora pressed the button. The SOS signal shot into space at the speed of light. It carried the voice of Elder Pelori, recorded just moments before. In the message, she begged for help. She described the attack. She gave their location. She said that her people were dying and that they had no way to defend themselves. The signal did not reach the galactic peacekeepers. Instead, it traveled in a completely different direction. It crossed empty space for millions of kilometers. It passed dead planets and dying stars. And then, after what seemed like forever, it reached a small blue world that no one in the galaxy knew existed. That world was called Earth. Commander Jinho was drinking his third cup of coffee when the signal arrived. He was sitting in the command center of the warship Horizon, one of Earth's newest military vessels. The Horizon was on a routine patrol mission near the edge of the solar system. Nothing exciting ever happened on these missions. Jinho was bored. Then his communication officer, a young woman named Sora, sat up straight in her chair. "Commander," she said, "I am receiving something strange." "Strange how?" Jinho walked over to her station. "It is a signal, sir. But it is not from any Earth source. It is not in any language I recognize, and it is coming from..." She paused and checked her readings again. "It is coming from outside our solar system." Jinho felt his heart beat faster. Humans had long wondered if they were alone in the universe. They had sent probes and signals into space for centuries, but they had never received an answer. Until now. "Can you translate it?" Jinho asked. Sora worked at her controls for several minutes. The ship's computer analyzed the signal and tried to match it with known patterns. Finally, the translation appeared on the screen. "Please help us. We are under attack. Our world is called Seraph. Our location is. They are killing us. We have no weapons. We cannot fight back. Please. Anyone who hears this, please help us. We are going to die." The bridge fell silent. Jinho read the message 3 times. His hands formed into fists. Somewhere out there, innocent people were dying. They had sent a cry for help into the darkness of space, and by some accident, some twist of fate, that cry had reached Earth. "Sir," Sora said quietly, "what do we do?" Jinho thought about the rules. He thought about protocol. He thought about how Earth had never made contact with alien life before. The smart thing to do was to report this to command and wait for orders. That could take days, maybe weeks. By then, the people who sent this message would be dead. "Get me a line to Fleet Admiral Dongsu," Jinho said. "Tell him it is an emergency. Tell him that we have received a distress signal from an alien civilization. And tell him that I am recommending immediate response." Sora's eyes went wide. "Sir, are you sure?" "We do not know anything about what is out there." "I know that someone is asking for help," Jinho replied. "I know that if we do nothing, they will die. That is enough for me." He looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere in that vast darkness, a small blue people were fighting for their lives. They did not know that humans existed. They did not know that their accidental signal had reached a species that the galaxy called Deathworlders. Earth was a harsh planet. Its gravity was strong. Its weather was violent. Its animals were deadly. Humans had evolved to survive in one of the most dangerous environments in the universe. They had developed strong bodies, clever minds, and something else that set them apart from most species. They had developed anger, and when humans saw innocent creatures being hurt, that anger became something powerful, something unstoppable. The Korvax had made a terrible mistake. They had attacked the Valari while a human ship was listening. Now the Deathworlders were coming, and they were not happy. Fleet Admiral Dongsu was a man who had seen many things in his long career. He had fought in 3 wars. He had commanded hundreds of ships. He had buried too many soldiers to count, but he had never received a message like the one Commander Jinho sent him. He listened to the alien distress call 5 times. Each time, he heard the fear in the unknown voice. Each time, he felt something tighten in his chest. "How long ago was this sent?" Dongsu asked. "Our scientists estimate the signal traveled for approximately 6 hours, replied his aide, a serious woman named Captain Yuna. "Based on its origin point, we believe the source is a planet roughly 2 light-years away." 2 light-years, Dongsu repeated. He rubbed his tired eyes. "And our fastest ships? The new Falcon-class vessels can reach 0.95 light speed, Yuna said. "We could be there in about 2.5 years. Dongsu shook his head. "Too slow. They will be dead long before we arrive." "Sir, there is another option." Yuna pulled up a display on the screen. Project Gateway. Project Gateway was humanity's greatest secret. For decades, scientists had worked on a way to travel faster than light. They had finally succeeded just 2 years ago, a device that could fold space itself, allowing ships to jump across vast distances in seconds. It was experimental. It was dangerous. It had only been tested 3 times. "The gateway has never been used for a real mission," Dongsu said. "No, sir. But if we want to help these people, it is our only choice." Dongsu stared at the screen for a long moment. He thought about the risks. He thought about how many things could go wrong. Then, he thought about the voice in that message. That terrified, desperate voice asking for someone, anyone, to save them. "Prepare the fleet," he said. "We leave in 4 hours." The news spread quickly through Earth's military. Volunteers lined up by the thousands. Everyone wanted to be part of this mission. For the first time in history, humans would travel to another star system. For the first time, they would meet alien life. And they would do it to save innocent people they had never met. Captain Yuna was assigned to lead the ground forces. She was 32 years old, tall and strong, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had grown up on a farm in a small village, but she had always dreamed of the stars. Now she would finally reach them. She stood before her soldiers in the main hangar of the command ship. There were 500 of them, men and women from every country on Earth. They were the best fighters humanity had to offer. "Listen carefully," Yuna said. Her voice was calm but firm. "We do not know what we will find when we arrive. We do not know how strong the enemy is. We do not know if the people we are trying to save are even still alive." She paused and looked at their faces. She saw determination. She saw courage. She saw no fear. "What we do know is this," she continued. "Someone asked for help. They sent a message into space, hoping that someone would hear. And we heard. We are that someone." A young soldier named Tejo raised his hand. "Captain, what are our rules of engagement?" Yuna's expression hardened. "The enemy is attacking civilians. They are killing people who cannot fight back. Our rules are simple. Stop them, by any means necessary." A murmur went through the crowd. This was not going to be a peaceful first contact. This was going to be a war. "One more thing," Yuna said. "The planet we are going to has a different atmosphere than Earth. Our scientists say the air contains high levels of sulfur compounds. It will be uncomfortable to breathe. Will we need protective suits?" asked another soldier named Minji. Yuna smiled slightly. "For most species in the galaxy, that atmosphere would be deadly. For us, it will be like standing near a hot spring. Unpleasant, but not dangerous. We will not need suits." The soldiers looked at each other. They were beginning to understand something important. Earth was not a normal planet. The conditions that humans considered ordinary were actually extreme by galactic standards. Humans were stronger, tougher, and more resilient than most other species. They were Deathworlders. 4 hours later, the fleet was ready. 10 warships gathered near the gateway station in orbit around Earth. The station was massive, a ring of metal and energy that glowed with blue light. Inside that ring, space itself was being bent and twisted. Admiral Dongsu stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Thunder of Seoul. He looked at his crew. Young faces, nervous but determined. They had trained for years, but nothing could truly prepare them for what was coming. "Open channel to all ships," Dongsu ordered. The communication officer nodded. "Channel open, sir." Dongsu took a deep breath. "This is Fleet Admiral Dongsu. In a few minutes, we will make history. We will be the first humans to travel beyond our solar system. We will be the first to meet alien life." He paused, letting his words sink in. "But we are not going as explorers. We are going as warriors. Somewhere out there, innocent people are suffering. They called for help, and we answered. That is who we are. That is what humans do." He thought about all the stories he had read as a child. Stories of heroes who traveled to distant lands to save the helpless. Stories of brave knights and noble soldiers. Now, he was living one of those stories. "I will not lie to you," he continued. "This mission is dangerous. Some of us may not come back. But if we succeed, we will show the universe something important. We will show them that humans protect the weak. We will show them that we fight for those who cannot fight for themselves." His voice grew stronger. "The enemy does not know we are coming. They do not know that humans exist. They think they can hurt innocent people without consequence. They are wrong." Every ship in the fleet listened in silence. "Today, we teach them a lesson," Dongsu said. "Today, they learn that Earth answers calls for help. Today, they learn what happens when you make Deathworlders angry." Earthrers. He straightened his uniform and gave the final order. All ships. Engage gateway drives. Let's go save some people. The ring of the gateway station began to spin faster. Energy crackled and sparked. A hole opened in the fabric of space itself, showing darkness that was somehow deeper than normal space. One by one, the ships flew into that darkness and disappeared. In seconds, they crossed 2 light-years of distance. When they emerged on the other side, they saw something that made their hearts sink. The planet Seraph hung in space before them. It was burning. Great plumes of smoke rose from its surface. Even from orbit, they could see the destruction. Scan the planet, Yuna ordered from her ship. The results came back quickly. Multiple hostile ships in orbit. Enemy forces on the ground. And scattered throughout the burning cities. Weak life signs. The Valari were still alive, some of them, at least. The enemy fleet has detected us, reported the tactical officer. They appear to be confused, sir. They are not moving into attack formation. Yuna understood why. The enemy had never seen human ships before. They did not know who or what had just appeared in their space. For a moment, they were frozen with uncertainty. That moment would cost them everything. All ships, battle positions, Admiral Dongsu commanded from the Thunder of Seoul. Launch all fighters. Prepare ground assault teams. The human fleet spread out like predators circling their prey. The enemy ships were larger, but the humans moved with a speed and aggression that clearly shocked them. Captain Yuna strapped herself into a drop pod with her team. Sergeant Hana was beside her, checking her rifle for the 10th time. Hana was small but fierce, with a reputation for never missing a shot. Ready? Yuna asked. Hana grinned. It was not a friendly grin. Let's show them what humans can do. The drop pods launched, streaking toward the burning planet below. Inside each pod, soldiers prepared for their first contact with alien life. They did not know exactly what they would find. They did not know how the battle would go, but they knew one thing for certain. They had come to help, and nothing in the galaxy was going to stop them. Elder Pelori had given up hope. She sat in the basement of a destroyed building with 30 other Valari. They were the survivors of her district. Just 30 people left from a community of thousands. Children cried in their mother's arms. Old ones stared at the walls with empty eyes. Everyone was waiting to die. The Korvax had been hunting them for hours. Their soldiers moved through the ruined streets above, searching for any Valari who still lived. When they found someone, there was a scream. Then silence. Always silence. Maybe the peacekeepers will come, whispered a young mother named Tilla. She held her infant child close to her chest. Maybe they received our message. Pelori shook her head sadly. Even if they did, it would take them weeks to arrive. We do not have weeks. A terrible truth hung in the air. No one was coming to save them. The galaxy had abandoned them. They were alone. Then the sky exploded. At first, Pelori thought the Korvax were bombing the city again. But the sounds were different. She heard strange weapons firing. She heard Korvax soldiers shouting in what sounded like fear. And then she heard something she did not recognize. Human voices. Lieutenant Tejo hit the ground running. His drop pod had landed in the middle of a city square surrounded by burning buildings. 3 Korvax soldiers stood nearby, staring at him with their yellow eyes wide with shock. They had never seen a creature like him before. He was tall by their standards, almost 2 meters. His skin was soft and unprotected by scales. He should have been weak. He should have been easy to kill. The lead Korvax raised his plasma rifle and fired. Tejo moved. Not like any species the Korvax had ever encountered. He moved fast. Too fast. The plasma bolt passed through empty air where he had been standing a moment before. Before the Korvax could fire again, Tejo was on him. One punch. That was all it took. Tejo's fist connected with the Korvax soldier's chest, and the alien flew backward like it had been hit by a vehicle. It crashed through a stone wall and did not get up. The other 2 Korvax stared in horror. Then they ran. Tejo let them go. There would be time to deal with them later. Right now, he had to find survivors. All units, report. said Captain Yuna's voice in his earpiece. Teho here. I am in Sector 7. Heavy enemy presence, but they are not organized. I think we surprised them. Good. Find civilians and protect them. We will handle the main enemy forces. Teho moved through the streets. The air was thick with sulfur. Just as the scientists had predicted. It burned his nose slightly, like standing too close to a fire. But it did not slow him down. For the Volari, this atmosphere was perfect. For the Korvax, it was tolerable. For humans? Humans had evolved on a planet with volcanic eruptions, toxic gases, and air that changed constantly. This was nothing. He heard crying coming from a destroyed building. Small voices. Children's voices. Teho kicked down the door and descended into the basement. What he found broke his heart. Dozens of small blue creatures huddled together in the darkness. They looked up at him with huge, terrified eyes. They had clearly never seen anything like him. To them, he must have looked like a monster. Pelori stepped forward. She was trembling, but she tried to speak. Please, she said in her own language. Please do not hurt us. We surrender. We give up. Just please do not hurt the children. Teho's translator device worked quickly. He understood her words, and they made his chest tight with anger. Not at her. At the Korvax. At anyone who could make a grandmother beg for the lives of children. He knelt down slowly, trying to make himself less threatening. It was not easy. He was 3 times their size. But he tried. I am not here to hurt you, he said. His translator converted his words into the Volari language. I am here to help. You sent a message. We heard it. Pelori's eyes went wide. You received our signal? But we sent it to the peacekeepers. It did not reach them. It reached us instead. We came as fast as we could. Teho gave her a gentle smile. My name is Teho. I am a human. From a planet called Earth, we are here to save you. For a moment, Pelori could not speak. She had never heard of humans. She had never heard of Earth. But this creature had traveled across the stars to help her people. Strangers helping strangers. Tears rolled down her blue cheeks. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you. Above them, the battle was growing more intense. The Korvax had recovered from their initial shock and were organizing a counterattack. Hundreds of their soldiers poured into the city streets. They had called for reinforcements from their ships in orbit, but they were too late. Sergeant Hannah crouched behind a fallen pillar, her rifle pressed against her shoulder. 50 meters away, a group of Korvax soldiers were setting up a heavy weapon emplacement. If they got that weapon operational, it would tear through the human positions. Hannah did not intend to let that happen. She took a breath. Then another. Her heart slowed. Her hands became perfectly still. She had practiced this shot 10,000 times. She fired. The Korvax operating the heavy weapon dropped. Before his companions could react, Hannah fired again. And again. And again. 4 shots. 4 kills. In less than 3 seconds, the remaining Korvax looked around wildly, trying to find the shooter. They could not see her. She was too far away, hidden in shadows. One of them shouted something that her translator picked up. What kind of creature can shoot like that? What are these things? Crater. Hannah smiled grimly. We are humans, she muttered. And you picked the wrong planet to ignore. Captain Yuna led the main assault. Her forces pushed through the city center, driving the Korvax back street by street. The enemy outnumbered them 3-1. But it did not matter. The humans were faster, stronger, and far more aggressive than anything the Korvax had ever faced. A Korvax commander tried to rally his troops. He was a massive creature, nearly 3 meters tall, covered in scars from previous battles. He had conquered a dozen worlds. He had never lost a fight, until today. Yuna walked toward him through the smoke and fire. She did not run. She did not hide. She just walked, her rifle hanging at her side. Surrender, she said. Her voice was calm, almost bored. "Tell your soldiers to drop their weapons. No one else needs to die today." The commander laughed. It was a harsh, cruel sound. "You think you can defeat the Korvax Empire? You are nothing. Your species is unknown. You have no allies, no support. We will crush you and add your world to our collection." Yuna tilted her head slightly. "You do not understand," she said. "We did not come here to fight the Korvax Empire. We came here to save the Valari. You are just in our way." She moved before he could respond. The commander was fast for his species, but Yuna was faster. She ducked under his first swing, drove her elbow into his knee, and brought him down to the ground. Before he could rise, she had her boot on his throat. "Let me explain something," she said quietly. "My species evolved on a world that tried to kill us every single day. Our gravity is twice what most species can tolerate. Our predators have teeth and claws that can tear through metal. We survived by being tougher, smarter, and more stubborn than anything that wanted to eat us." She pressed down slightly. The commander gasped for air. "You came to this world to hurt innocent people. People who could not fight back. People who just wanted to live in peace." Her eyes were cold. "That makes you the worst kind of predator, the kind that attacks the weak." She leaned closer. "On Earth, we have a name for creatures like you. We call you bullies. And we have spent our entire history learning how to deal with bullies." The commander looked into her eyes and saw something that terrified him. Not anger, not hatred, something worse. Disappointment. This human was disappointed in him. She looked at him like he was a child who had misbehaved, like he was beneath her notice. For the first time in his life, the Korvax commander felt small. "Your fleet is losing," Yuna said. "Your soldiers are retreating. You have one chance to save what remains of your forces. Surrender now, or I will let my soldiers finish what we started." The commander looked at the burning city around him. He saw his soldiers running. He saw human troops advancing without fear. He saw the end of everything he had built. "I surrender," he whispered. Yuna nodded and removed her boot. Smart choice. She turned and walked away, already giving orders to her troops. There were still Valari to rescue. Still, work to be done. Behind her, the Korvax commander sat in the ashes of his defeat and wondered what kind of monsters the universe had just unleashed. The Korvax fleet commander was named Koroth. He had commanded warships for 40 years. He had burned countless worlds. He had never lost a battle in space. When his sensors detected the unknown vessels entering the system, he had laughed. 10 small ships against his fleet of 30? This would be easy. These strange newcomers would learn the price of challenging the Korvax Empire. That was 3 hours ago. Now Koroth stood on his bridge surrounded by chaos. Alarms screamed from every station. Damage reports flooded in faster than his officers could read them. Half his fleet was already drifting dead in space. The other half was trying to retreat. "How is this possible?" Koroth demanded. "They are using inferior technology. Their ships are smaller. How are they destroying us?" His tactical officer was shaking. "Sir, their tactics are. They are insane. They fly directly into our formations. They ignore damage that would cripple any other ship. They keep fighting even when their vessels should be unable to function." Koroth watched the battle display. One human ship had been hit by 3 direct plasma strikes. Any Korvax vessel would have exploded. But the human ship kept coming. It rammed straight through a Korvax cruiser, tearing it in half, before continuing to fire on the next target. "Their armor," Koroth said slowly. "What is it made of?" "Unknown, sir. It appears to be some kind of layered metal composite. It absorbs and distributes impact in ways our weapons cannot penetrate efficiently." Of course, Koroth suddenly understood. These creatures came from a harsh world, a dangerous world. They had built their ships to survive environments that would kill anything else. The same strength that let them survive their homeworld now made them nearly unstoppable in battle. The thunder of Sol dove through the middle of the Korvax formation. Admiral Dongsu stood on his bridge, gripping the railing as the ship shook from multiple impacts. "Damage report," he called out. "Minor hull damage on decks 4 through 7, replied his damage control officer. "All systems still operational," Dongsu smiled. The Korvax weapons were powerful, but they were designed to fight other Korvax. They were not designed to fight ships built by a species that treated radiation storms and asteroid impacts as minor inconveniences. "Target their flagship," Dongsu ordered. "All main batteries, fire." The thunder of Sol's weapons opened up. Human engineers had studied every dangerous thing Earth could produce. Volcanoes, lightning, nuclear reactions, the crush of deep ocean pressure. They had turned all of that knowledge into weapons. The first salvo hit Koroth's flagship like a hammer. The Korvax commander was thrown across his bridge. Consoles exploded. Officers screamed. The lights flickered and died, replaced by emergency red lighting. "Report!" Koroth shouted. "Shields are gone," someone answered. "Armor is failing." "We cannot take another hit like that." Koroth looked at his display. The human flagship was coming around for another pass. Behind it, the rest of the human fleet was systematically destroying everything the Korvax had left. For the first time in 40 years, Koroth felt fear. "All ships, retreat," he ordered. "Jump to hyperspace. Get us out of here." His navigator's voice was filled with despair. "Sir, our jump drive is damaged. We cannot escape." The thunder of Sol stopped firing. On its bridge, Admiral Dongsu watched the crippled Korvax flagship drift helplessly. "Open a channel to the enemy vessel," he said. A moment later, Koroth's face appeared on the screen. The Korvax commander looked like he had aged 20 years in the past 3 hours. His uniform was torn, his scales were cracked, blood ran down his face from a wound on his head. "Who are you?" Koroth demanded. "What species dares to challenge the Korvax Empire?" Dongsu clasped his hands behind his back. "I am Fleet Admiral Dongsu of the Earth Defense Force. My species is called human. And we are here because you attacked innocent people." "Innocent?" Koroth spat. "The Valari are nothing. They are weak. They have no military value. They were simply resources." "They are living beings," Dongsu replied. His voice was hard as stone. "They asked for help. We came to help them. That is all that matters." Koroth stared at him in disbelief. "You crossed the stars. For them? For a species you never knew existed? Why? What do you gain?" Dongsu was quiet for a moment. He thought about how to explain something that seemed so obvious to him. Something that was built into the very heart of what it meant to be human. "When I was a boy," Dongsu said, "my grandfather told me a story. He said that the true measure of a person is not how they treat the powerful. It is how they treat the weak, the helpless, the ones who cannot fight back." He stepped closer to the screen. "You attacked the weak because you thought no one would stop you. You were wrong. We heard their cry for help, and we came. Not because we wanted something, not because we expected a reward. We came because it was right." Koroth did not understand. His entire society was built on strength and conquest. The idea that someone would fight and die for strangers, for nothing in return, made no sense to him. "You are insane," he said finally. Dongsu shrugged. "Perhaps. Or perhaps we are simply different from you." His expression hardened. "Now here is what happens next. You will surrender your remaining ships. You will release all prisoners. You will leave this system and never return. And if I refuse, then I will destroy what is left of your fleet. Every ship, every soldier. I will leave nothing but debris floating in space. And then, I will take your emergency beacon and send a message to your empire, explaining exactly what happened here. How a species they never heard of crushed your forces in a single afternoon." Dongsu let that sink in. "The choice is yours, Commander. Surrender and live. Or fight and die. But make no mistake. Either way, the Valari are now under our protection. If any Korvax ship ever threatens them again, we will return. And next time, We will not offer the option of surrender. On the surface of Seraph, the ground battle was ending. The remaining Korvax soldiers were laying down their weapons. They had seen their comrades fall by the dozens. They had watched humans shrug off wounds that would have killed 3 Korvax. They had lost the will to fight. Sergeant Haina moved through a refugee camp that her unit had liberated. Hundreds of Valari sat in groups, still in shock from everything that had happened. Medical teams moved among them, treating injuries. A small Valari child approached Hana. The child could not have been more than 5 or 6 years old by human standards. She looked up at Hana, with huge eyes full of curiosity. "Are you a monster?" the child asked. Hana knelt down so she was at eye level with the little girl. "No, sweetie. I am not a monster. I am a soldier. I came here to help. The Grey Ones said monsters would come to eat us if we did not obey them." Hana felt anger rise in her chest. The Korvax had used fear to control these people. They had turned the Valari's own imaginations against them. "Listen to me," Hana said gently. "There are no monsters here. The Grey Ones were lying. Sometimes, the real monsters are the ones who tell you they are protecting you." The child reached out and touched Hana's hand. Her small blue fingers traced the lines on Hana's palm. "Your skin is warm," she said, "and soft. How can you be so strong?" Hana smiled. "My world made me strong, but my heart made me want to use that strength to help others. Do you understand?" The child nodded slowly. Then she did something that surprised Hana. She hugged her, a tiny alien child wrapping her arms around a human soldier. Hana hugged her back. And for a moment, despite all the death and destruction around them, something beautiful existed. In orbit, Koroth made his decision. "We surrender," he said. The words tasted like poison in his mouth. Admiral Dongsu nodded. "A wise choice. Lower your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Your crew will be allowed to live, but your ships are now property of the Valari people. Consider it payment for what you did to them." As Korvax soldiers were led away in restraints, a message was already spreading. It traveled from ship to ship, from system to system. Across the entire galaxy, the message was simple. There is a new species. They call themselves humans. They come from a death world. They answered a distress call meant for someone else. And they won. In diplomatic halls and military headquarters throughout the galaxy, leaders looked at each other with new concern. A death world species with advanced technology and aggressive tendencies was terrifying enough. But a death world species that actively sought out opportunities to fight, that was something else entirely. One ancient diplomat, a being who had watched empires rise and fall for 1,000 years, summed it up perfectly. The humans do not want to conquer. They do not want wealth or power. They want something far more dangerous. They want to be heroes, and they will destroy anyone who gets in their way. 3 months had passed since the Battle of Seraph. The galaxy had changed forever. The Valari world was slowly healing. Buildings were being rebuilt. Gardens were being replanted. Children played in streets that had been filled with death and fire just weeks before. Life was returning to normal, or at least a new kind of normal. And everywhere on Seraph, there were humans. They had stayed after the battle. Not as conquerors, not as rulers, but as helpers. Human engineers worked alongside Valari builders to construct new homes. Human doctors treated the sick and wounded. Human soldiers patrolled the borders to make sure no one else would threaten this world. Elder Pelori stood at the top of a hill overlooking her city. Beside her was Captain Yuna, who had become something like a friend over the past months. The two of them watched the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and purple. "I still do not fully understand," Pelori said quietly. "Why do you stay? The danger is over. The Korvax have fled. You could return to your world." Yuna smiled. "We will, eventually. But we wanted to make sure you were safe first. That you could protect yourselves if anything like this ever happened again. You have given us weapons. You have trained our young people to fight. We can never repay this debt." "There is no debt," Yuna said. We did not help you because we wanted something in return. We helped because it was right. Pelori shook her head in wonder. Your species is strange. In all my years, I have never encountered beings like you. The galaxy is full of predators and prey, hunters and hunted. But you are something different. You are predators who protect. We try to be. A small child ran up the hill and grabbed Pelori's hand. It was the same little girl who had hugged Sergeant Hana months ago. Her name was Leary, and she had become something of a symbol for the Valari people, a reminder of what they had almost lost. Elder! Elder! Leary said excitedly. The human teachers are showing us how to build things. Big things. They say we can make our own ships someday. Pelori laughed and patted the child's head. Is that so? Well, you must study hard then. Leary turned to Yuna with a serious expression on her small face. When I grow up, I want to be like you. I want to help people who are scared. Yuna knelt down and looked the child in the eyes. Then, that is exactly what you will do. Remember, being strong is not about muscles or weapons. It is about choosing to stand up when others cannot. Do you understand? Leary nodded firmly. I understand. Then she ran back down the hill to rejoin her friends. Pelori watched her go with tears in her eyes. That child's parents were killed in the attack. She has no family left except us, all of us. She has you, Yuna said. And she has hope now. That is more than she had before. Far across the galaxy, the news of what happened at Seraph continued to spread. The Korvax Empire, once feared throughout dozens of star systems, had become a subject of mockery, an entire fleet defeated by 10 unknown ships, a ground force humiliated by creatures half their size. The Korvax withdrew from 3 contested territories. They no longer raided weaker species. They no longer threatened their neighbors. Because everyone knew the truth now, the humans were watching. One Korvax leader, trying to save face, made a public statement. We were not defeated, he claimed. We simply chose to retreat. The humans are not that dangerous. Any properly prepared force could destroy them. Within a week, that leader disappeared. His own people removed him. No one wanted to risk attracting human attention by acting too aggressively. In the Galactic Council, the assembly of civilizations that governed interstellar affairs, there was fierce debate about what to do with these humans. They are a threat, argued one representative, a tall insectoid being. A Deathworld species with military capability should be contained before they become a problem. Contained how? Asked another, a floating gas creature. You saw what they did to the Korvax. Would you like to be next? They defended innocent people, said a third representative, an elderly being with silver skin. They did not attack for conquest or resources. They attacked to protect. That makes them unpredictable, dangerous, or it makes them exactly what this galaxy needs. The debate continued for hours. Finally, an agreement was reached. A diplomatic mission would be sent to Earth, not to threaten or demand, simply to open communication. To learn more about these humans and what they wanted. On Earth, the returning fleet was greeted as heroes. Admiral Dongsu gave interviews that were watched by billions. Captain Yuna was promoted and awarded medals. The soldiers who fought on Seraph were celebrated throughout the world, but for many of them, the attention felt strange. They had not fought for glory or recognition. They had fought because people needed help. Lieutenant Tejo stood in front of a classroom full of children. He had been asked to speak about his experiences. The kids looked up at him with wide eyes, full of questions. Was it scary? One boy asked. Yes, Tejo admitted. Very scary. The enemy was big and strong. Their weapons were powerful. There were many times when I thought I might not survive. But you kept fighting anyway? I did. Because the Valari were counting on us. They could not fight for themselves. So we fought for them. A little girl raised her hand. My mom says humans are special because we come from a hard place. Is that true? Tejo thought about how to answer. Earth is what scientists call a death world. Our planet has strong gravity, dangerous animals, extreme weather, and diseases that could wipe out entire species. Surviving here made us tough." He paused and looked at the children. "But being tough is not what makes us special. Lots of species are tough. What makes us special is what we choose to do with our strength. We can use it to hurt others, like the Korvax do, or we can use it to help others. That choice is what defines us." The children nodded solemnly. They were too young to fully understand, but the seed was planted. Someday, they would remember these words. Back on Seraph, a monument was being built. It stood in the center of the capital city, on the exact spot where Korvax soldiers had first landed. The monument showed a human and a Valari standing side by side, looking up at the stars. At its base, an inscription had been carved in both human standard and the Valari language. It read, "On this day, strangers became family." A cry for help was heard across the darkness, and those who answered proved that kindness is stronger than fear. Elder Pelori was there when the monument was unveiled. She stood before her people and gave a speech that would be remembered for generations. "We sent our message into the void," she said. "We did not know if anyone would hear. We did not know if anyone would care. But the humans heard. And they cared." Her voice grew stronger. "They came from a world that tried to kill them. They survived dangers we cannot imagine. And when they learned that strangers were suffering, they crossed the stars to help, not for money, not for power, simply because it was right." She looked up at the monument, at the two figures standing together. "The humans have a saying. No one fights alone. Today, we make that saying our own. We are no longer alone in this universe. We have friends now. Protectors. Family." The crowd cheered. Valari and humans together, celebrating something that had never happened before in galactic history. Word of the ceremony reached distant worlds. It reached species that had lived in fear of stronger neighbors. It reached civilizations that had given up hope of ever being safe. And everywhere it reached, a new thought began to form. If the humans helped the Valari, maybe they would help others too. In the months that followed, more distress calls were sent toward Earth. Not from Seraph, but from other worlds, other species, other victims of aggression and cruelty. And every time, the humans answered. They did not always arrive in time. They did not always win, but they always tried. They always came when called. The galaxy began to change. Predatory empires became more cautious. Weaker species became bolder. A new balance was forming. One built not on fear, but on something the galaxy had never truly known: hope. Admiral Dongsu retired after 10 more years of service. In his final address, he said something that became famous throughout the galaxy. "We did not ask to become protectors. We did not want to be warriors. But when we heard someone crying for help, we could not look away. That is who humans are. We answer the call." He smiled at the camera. "So if you are out there, afraid and alone, know this. You are not alone anymore. Send your message. We will hear it. And we will come." On Seraph, the little girl named Lyri grew up. She studied hard, just as she had promised. She became the first Valari to graduate from Earth's military academy. She commanded a ship of her own, crewed by humans and Valari working together. And when she received her first distress call, she did exactly what her heroes had done years before. She answered it, because that is what heroes do. They answer.